Oh, that was usually you give me a... Thank you. You are listening to A Scary State, and this week we're going back home to Virginia. So, Lauren,
Yes, Kenzie.
let's get scary.
Please don't do an accent the whole time.
Absolutely not. You know what I've decided about Virginia, or how I imagine Virginians see themselves? Or maybe this is just me projecting onto
Okay.
every Virginian.
Yeah.
I feel like, yes, we are the South, but we're not the deep South. And so we're like the South, but like not as bad as the South.
South Light.
Yeah. South Light. Exactly.
I just don't even think Northern Virginia should be considered the South. That's why we have Northern in our name.
It used to be so aggravating to me when I would see people from our high school like wear like camo and cowboy boots. I'm like, who do you think you are and where do you think you are?
Right.
You are in Loudoun County, not a farm for miles.
No, Loudoun County has a ton of farms.
Yeah, but not for miles.
Okay, true.
None in the vicinity that we were quickly going to.
That is true. That is true.
And I'm just like, bro, you're not country. We are not in the South.
Your microphone is backwards. It sounded fine, though. But there we go.
Maybe it'll sound even better.
Oh, my God. But yeah, no. And I think I said it before, too. When Joe and I first started dating, his family was like, oh, my God, you're dating a Southern girl. And he goes, no. Not at all.
Yeah. It's like, not that I have Southern pride, because I feel like pride is not the right word. I do like certain aspects of Southern culture.
Yeah.
Like, especially the food.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like that. And plus, like, my family's from New Orleans.
Mhm.
And it's like, to me, it's the same way that, like, New Orleans, you forget, is in Louisiana, because it is a very different place than the rest of Louisiana.
Yeah.
So it's kind of how I feel about Nova.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, that's how I decided that Virginia is. Like, we're like the not as bad South. And that's probably not true. Probably, you just got to go like 30 minutes west or south. And
we have some we have some bad South here as well.
Yeah.
We've seen it with flags, license plates.
It's unfortunate because I'm like, how do we live in the same fucking state?
Mm-hmm.
But then I also remember that Virginia is huge.
That is true.
It takes 5 hours to go from one side to the other, east to west, and 5 hours to go from the very top to the very bottom.
Yeah. Oh, it's a big state.
It's a big state.
Like when we're on vacation or something, when we went to Georgia that one time, we're coming back and we hit Virginia, and we're like, yeah, we're in Virginia. 5 hours to go.
Right. Like, you can't even get excited.
No, you can't.
Because you're just like, oh my God, we still have to go all the way to the top.
Oh, yeah. It's a big old state.
It's a big old state. It's a big girl.
Have you ever been to like the pointy part all the way, if you're looking at Virginia, all the way to the left?
I mean, that's kind of where Radford was.
Not in the little triangle-y part.
It was close.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Scary part of Virginia. The forgotten part of Virginia.
Definitely the forgotten part. Having student taught in that area.
Oh.
Yeah, sweet babies. Oh, man.
It's like Maryland, that part, like, that gets a little bit bigger. Like, once it goes on the top of Virginia and it gets a little bit bigger, that part is also forgotten.
Yeah.
Forgotten part of Maryland.
There's a lot of parts that I feel like the bottom half of Virginia.
Yeah.
Is like what goes on there.
There's nothing there for us.
Not that I can think of.
We had an earthquake down there, but that was more in the middle of Virginia.
Right. I know middle of Virginia is good. I know some people in the middle. They're good people.
But we don't know any down there.
Not over there. I know some on the east side.
Well, yeah.
Actually, I do know one person southwest.
In the little weird area.
Yeah. But she's not weird.
Good for her.
Well, depends on who you ask.
All right, should we jump into Virginia?
Please. I kind of went in a couple of different places with the history.
Well, we know Mackenzie loves her history.
Yeah, some of it's just like, oh, yeah, we should probably mention that, like, remember, we're in the South, so.
And like we said, it's dark history for all the states. We've even done our own dark history because we have some here.
Yeah, but the southern states are going to be probably the darkest.
Oh, yeah.
Because.
Yes, they will be.
They did the most fucked up shit.
Yes, they did.
But the other stuff is like, one's icky and one is like a spooky.
Oh, okay.
So it goes from just like hey, let's remember we have this history we should probably acknowledge to, ooh, that's gross. That sucks that they had to do that. And then spooky, but yay.
Okay.
I don't know, just read them.
So, despite how Kenzie and I feel, Virginia is a southern state with southern roots and ties to the Confederacy. Virginia may not be considered the Deep South, like we said, thank God, but our history is not above any of the other states that seceded the Union in the mid 1800s. Congress passed an act in 1808 that abolished the international slave trade, which caused domestic trade to flourish. Richmond, Virginia's capital city, became the largest slave trading center in the Upper South, and the slave trade was Virginia's largest industry at the time. It is responsible for the destruction of families and social networks of about 2 million Black people from Richmond to the Deep South.
Isn't that crazy?
That's awful.
And definitely didn't. That's the thing. 4th grade in Virginia is all Virginia history. You have to take the Virginia history SOL. Like, you are knee deep in all things fucking Virginia.
Oh, yeah, I
It's
remember.
crazy, and it drives me nuts to this day. I'm all for learning history. Super important. Definitely keep that on the books. And I know Virginia definitely has a large role in history, being one of the like firsts of the states.
13 original colonies.
So I get that. But oh my God, like this is going to be really vulgar. We're sucking our own dick here, okay? It's ridiculous. And we definitely didn't learn about this shit.
Why would they teach us this?
I'm just saying, if you're going to have us do Virginia history,
They're not going to do anything that makes us look bad.
it's annoying.
It's whitewashed history.
I know, it's annoying.
Post-Civil War Virginia adopted a constitution in 1902 that required segregation, which resulted in literacy tests, polling taxes, and segregated schools. It wasn't until the 1950s, with the win of Brown versus the Board of Education, that Virginia schools were desegregated.
Well, all of them were, because they had to be.
Until, well, we'll see what happens now.
Yeah. That
Iron-
could be overturned.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, our state flag was first officially adopted by Virginia at the start of the Civil War. The seal depicts Virtus, the Roman goddess of virtue, dressed as an Amazon warrior holding a spear and a sheathed sword. She stands triumphantly over tyranny, represented by a fallen king whose crown lies on the ground, symbolizing the defeat of British rule. We in America like to preach freedom, but only for certain people.
That's why I thought it was ironic.
And we also have a king back, so.
Well, that's the whole country. We were blue.
Thank God. Good job, Virginia.
Yeah. So that's, blame everyone else.
Absolutely.
But it's just to me that, like, it's talking about, like, tyranny, blah, blah, blah. But then, like,
Freedom.
they are major
Right.
suppressors of a group of people.
Right.
So I'm just like,
Ugh.
yeah.
The Latin motto beneath them, Sic Semper Tyrannis, thus always to tyrants, reinforces Virginia's revolutionary spirit and dedication to liberty. The phrase remains one of the most well-known state mottos, though it gained additional notoriety when shouted by John Wilkes Booth after assassinating Abraham Lincoln in 1865. Oh no!
Facepalm.
I didn't know that.
I know. That's I put it in there. I was
Oh
like,
my God.
yeah, down to tyrants. This is badass. Oh, by the way, someone who assassinated a president. You shouted
Yeah.
it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. Switching gears a little bit to
Kind
this
of.
is the gross part.
Yeah, this is gross. Also, definitely didn't learn about this, which I think would have been cool.
I did talk about this, I think, at one point in one of our notes long, long ago, but I didn't go into this much detail. During the starving time, 1609 to 1610, in Jamestown, Virginia, the desperate colonists resorted to extreme and horrific measures to stay alive. With dwindling food supplies and a harsh winter setting in, they were forced to eat anything they could find, including animals, leather, and even human remains.
You know how I know this still isn't talked about? Because my kids just learned about Jamestown, and they learned about, like, the starving time, but they didn't learn about any of this stuff.
Oh, yeah, but they're not going to tell you they ate each other.
Which, I mean, is probably not appropriate for 9-year-olds. I understand. But still.
That could have really started our, like, more spooky interest even earlier on.
I think 9-year-old me would have been traumatized.
Knowing you, yes.
Yeah.
Well, 9-year-old me, too, probably would have been kind of scared.
Yeah.
9-year-old me was still scared a lot
But
of
at
things.
least by high school, when we have to learn this shit all over again,
They should have taught this.
they should have fucking taught this.
High schoolers would love to learn this.
100%.
Yes. When their food stores ran out, the settlers hunted for rats, mice, and snakes. Dogs and cats, which were initially brought over as pets or working animals, were slaughtered for food.
I know.
I would not be able to do that. No matter how hungry I am, I wouldn't.
I would starve to death.
Yeah. Colonists
I would let my dog eat meat.
I was just,
Yeah.
they would eat you first.
Mhm.
Colonists resorted to boiling leather from their belts, shoes, and even book bindings to extract nutrients. They also ate starch-based glue used in construction and clothing. I always wondered that with, like, the Donner Party and, like, other groups who had that where they would eat the leather. I was
Mhm.
always thinking, "Why?" I didn't realize it was to extract nutrients.
Yeah, because
Interesting.
it's meat.
I get that, but I just, like, I don't know, the way I think of leather
Well,
nowadays.
now that's fake leather, so that would be
Right.
bad.
So that could be why, because
But
I think
when they
that's
used to
not
actually
nutrient.
make it out of animals.
That makes more sense. So, some settlers tried to eat roots, bark, and weeds, but many of these were inedible and even poisonous, leading to sickness or death. There were reports that people tried to boil wood and other fibrous materials to make them edible. Huh.
Why would you wanna poop? You barely have anything in you.
Well, then it gets backed up and then you die that way. That would also be an unpleasant way to die.
Uh, do you even have enough in you to get backed up?
That's a good question. Probably not. One of the most infamous aspects of the starving time was cannibalism, confirmed by modern archaeological evidence. In 2012, researchers uncovered the remains of a 14-year-old English girl dubbed Jane, who had clear knife marks on her skull and bones, suggesting that she was butchered for consumption. What?
So crazy.
That's so scary.
Right?
Written accounts from the time describes colonists digging up corpses to eat, and in at least one case, a man killed, salted, and ate his wife. He was later executed for murder?
I bet they ate him too.
Okay, I get,
Mhm.
don't eat them. But if you're dying,
Mhm.
because there was a thing, it was one of the things that I did for, like, Colorado or something where we had that guy who went into the woods and ate his friends.
Mhm.
He, before that, like, shortly before his whole thing was the Donner Party,
Mhm.
and there was a rule that they had made where it was like, you can't get in trouble for eating people if it's your last resort.
Right. Well, but this was also the 1600s, so and they had just established Jamestown.
Okay, valid.
I don't think that there was I don't
Nope.
think they thought that far ahead.
No, you're probably right about that.
Yeah.
Some colonists resorted to digging up Native American graves to steal whatever food had been buried with the dead. They also looted abandoned Native American settlements for food stores.
Which is crazy that they didn't eat the Native Americans.
I was thinking that too. Good.
Yeah.
Some settlers tried to escape Jamestown and live among the Powhatan people, but most were either captured or killed. A few may have successfully integrated into Native American tribes, though there is little evidence to confirm this.
That's what I would have done.
100%.
I'd have been like, "Take me prisoner
I
and
probably
feed
would have
me."
wanted to go with them first.
Yeah, that would have been like my first call. But I don't know if any women were here at this time. They didn't come till later.
Ah, that's why.
Actually, no, they were because someone just said,
Oh,
"Hey,
his
their
wife. But, like, the very, very beginnings, I would have made friends with everyone who lived there first.
Yeah, because
But they
first,
didn't because they
first
were
they
white.
sent the men, and then when they're like, "Yeah, cool, we'll stay here," then they sent the women.
By the time spring of 1610 arrived, only 60 of the original 500 settlers remained alive. Just as they decided to abandon the colony, Lord de Loire arrived with supplies and reinforcements from England, saving Jamestown from total collapse. That's like the thing where people were probably about to just like be done with it, and then they see the ship on the horizon.
I would be so happy, but then I'd been like, "Why couldn't you come before I ate a person?" Although I don't know, I think people's conscience,
Yeah.
however you say that word,
Yeah.
was so different
Yeah.
then.
Grace Sherwood, known as the Witch of Pungo, was the last person in Virginia to be convicted of witchcraft.
See, now spooky.
Oh, yeah, we're switching,
Yeah.
going different way again. Her story dates back to the early 1700s in Princess Anne County, now Virginia Beach, where she lived as a farmer, midwife, and healer. She was an independent woman, which made her a target for suspicion in her Puritan community. I talked about her a little bit when we covered Fairy Plantation House. They have a statue of her outside of the plantation house.
You're getting ahead.
Hmm?
You're getting ahead.
Sorry, okay. The accusations. Grace's troubles began when neighbors accused her of witchcraft, blaming her for failed crops, livestock deaths, and other misfortunes. These accusations were fueled by local gossip and disputes, particularly with neighbors who resented her success and independence. One notable accusation came from Richard Capps, who claimed that Grace had transformed into a cat, entered his home, and attacked his wife. In 1706, after multiple lawsuits and accusations, Grace was put on trial. Lacking definitive evidence, the authorities decided to use the controversial ordeal by water test. On July 10, 1706, Grace was tied up and thrown into the Lynnhaven River. The belief at the time was that if a woman sank, she was innocent, but if she floated, she was guilty of witchcraft. Grace managed to float, which was considered proof of her guilt, which is like, either way, you die. So you either drown and die, and they're like, oh, she was innocent,
Yep.
or you float and then you get killed because you're a witch.
Yep.
After the ordeal, Grace was imprisoned for several years, though the exact duration is unclear. Eventually, she was released and returned to her farm, where she lived out the rest of her life peacefully. She died in 1740 at around 80 years old.
I mean, that time, you're a witch if you're lasting to 80. Sorry.
Her hatred probably propelled her
Yeah,
forward.
right?
Grace Sherwood's story has since become a significant part of Virginia folklore. In 2006, 300 years after her trial, then Governor Tim Kaine officially pardoned her, acknowledging the injustice she suffered. A statue of Grace stands at Witch Duck Road in Virginia Beach, commemorating her story and her infamous water trial. Her tale remains a chilling reminder of the dangers of mass hysteria and superstition in early American history.
And now.
Oh, and now. I thought you were like scrolling on your computer, so I thought you were about to read something. And I was like, and now what?
No, I just meant like it's also still happening now.
Yes, it is. And it's not gonna get any better.
No, no, it's not. Not unless people come to their senses and they're like, whoa, buddy.
Some people are slowly. We're slowly getting people coming to their senses. Okay, we're gonna stop before we go too far.
If this is your cue to start speaking are not always dramatic and ridiculous from here on out, I will stay silent until they are.
Ugh, I've set such a high bar for myself.
You really have. Like, you are now obligated to make it the most dramatic thing ever.
I got you. I have some ideas.
Perfect.
Okay.
What spooky tea you put? Don't let me say my line.
I know. I was pushing things in. Okay. Sorry. Go. Mhm.
What spooky tea you pouring, Lauren?
Okay. So I debated doing this one. Because it's definitely one of the more well-known urban legends
I know
in
you
Virginia.
broke your own rule that you created for this show.
But I don't think the whole story is well known.
I mean, I don't know anything.
And there's a lot of random tidbits that go along with it that I also don't think people know.
Funny enough, when I was driving to a friend's house to watch the dogs, I was taking the back roads because I didn't want to sit in traffic on 95.
Mhm.
And I passed the brewery.
Which I do talk about.
But it was the first time I ever saw it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, cool, because I know you were talking about it.
So I know I have mentioned this legend.
Almost every time we talked about a cryptid of some kind.
The Bunny Man.
Any kind of mention of Virginia.
Yep. So I was like, well, I'm not going to cover it because there's only that stuff. But then I like kept reading into it and there were so many things that even I didn't know. And I was like, you know what? We're covering it.
Ooh.
So tales of the Bunny Man have been a fixture in the history and lore of Northern Virginia for years.
Which is crazy because I didn't know that until we started talking. Like, until I started doing this podcast with you. You're like, yeah, we have Bunny Man. I'm like, who the fuck is that?
By 1973, there had already been reports of sightings of this Bunny Man in Maryland and even D.C., though most of these tales seem to focus in Fairfax County, the same county that we record the podcast in.
Don't narrow it down too much.
Fairfax County, that's a huge county.
Just saying.
And I've said my town multiple times.
Oh, yeah, you're right. We probably have.
Yeah.
Like, we have stalkers. We're just happy when a fan messages us on Instagram.
I know. Then in 1976, the Bunny Man was linked to the death of 2 children in Clifton, Virginia. That same year, rumors spread of the disappearance of other children and mutilations of animals being found in the woods, mainly bunnies. By the
That's crazy.
I know.
What a wild animal to pick.
Of all the animals, I mean, bunnies are prevalent in Virginia.
No, I know, but it's just like...
But it's not as scary as the Cardinal Man.
It's just like bunnies, you just like everything associated with a bunny is sweet and innocent.
Which could be the reason why.
Who hurt him?
I will get into it. I do have theories.
Okay.
By the 1980s, he became an even more sinister figure who was linked to many gruesome murders. But
Like, actually linked?
I'll get into it. I've covered all of this, my dear.
Okay.
So who was the Bunny Man?
That's a good question.
So the story behind Bunny Man has many different versions, but there is one that seems to be the most popular.
Okay.
This one purportedly occurred in 1904. So supposedly, there was an asylum not far from the bridge in Clifton, Virginia. But the residents living in Clifton were not fans of having an asylum right in their neighborhood. And after many complaints, the asylum was finally shut down. But they had to do something with the patients who were living there. So they decided to bus the patients to the nearby Lorton prison. As it was traveling on its route, the bus crashed. Everyone on board was killed except one man named Douglas J. Griffin.
I do feel like I've heard this version of this.
You probably have. This is
Yeah.
the most popular
Yeah.
version. Though another version said that all of the inmates survived the crash and took this as their chance at freedom. Griffin was at the asylum.
Either way, he's out of there.
Either way, he was originally at the asylum for either killing his parents or his wife and kids on Easter Sunday.
Those are so drastically different.
So it's either his parents or his wife and kids happening on Easter. Either way, killed family in the asylum. So knowing that this was his one chance of escape, Griffin took refuge under the bridge before making his way into the surrounding woods. The local police quickly made their way to the crash site and were able to capture all but 2 of the men, Douglas J. Griffin and Marcus Walster. Because they were the only 2 men not recaptured, the search began for them. But during the hunt, the police found half-eaten bodies of nearly a dozen rabbits littering the woods they were in. They started to call the man they were looking for the Bunny Man.
Well, I mean, if it's for survival, I guess.
At this point, yeah.
Because, like, they're small and probably easy enough to catch.
And like we said, they're very prevalent in Virginia.
Yeah.
Continuing on, they soon came upon a railway bridge where they found the body of Marcus Walster. Walster's body was cold and stiff when the police found it, hanging from the tunnel entrance. A note attached to his foot said, "You'll never find me no matter how hard you try." Signed, the Bunny Man.
Ew.
This is how the bridge became known as the Bunny Man Bridge. But our tale isn't done.
Well, yeah.
The police continued to search for Griffin. They came across him at the train tracks by the bridge near Fairfax Station. As they began to chase him, they heard the unmistakable sound of an oncoming train. As much as they wanted to continue their pursuit, they quickly got out of the way of the oncoming train. But Griffin didn't. The police watched on in horror as Griffin stepped directly in front of the oncoming train. The police also watched as the train struck Griffin. As he was hit, he let out a burst of devilish laughter.
Ew.
His body was never recovered, but police assumed that there would be no body to recover after being hit by a speeding train. But the mutilation of bunny carcasses didn't stop showing up. The legend continues on that a year or so later it was Halloween night. A group of teens went to hang out at the bridge, but when they didn't return by the next morning, their parents were worried and a search began. Their bodies were found, strung up on the bridge, looking as though they had been hacked up by a hatchet. The same thing happened a few years later to another group of teens. It was rumored that Bunny Man wasn't dead after all. From that point on, locals began to avoid the area altogether, not wanting to chance a run-in with the Bunny Man.
I want to know where these people go during the daytime.
Like the Bunny Man?
Just like all these stories. Like, they only ever happen at night. And I want to know where these people are during the day.
Hibernating.
Because that's when I'd be looking.
During the day?
When I can fucking see.
Well, yeah, but then they're not going to come out because then you can see them.
I know, but where are they?
Hibernating.
Where?
I don't know.
Exactly.
A different dimension, maybe? Ooh.
That's crazy.
Like Bigfoot. So Brian Conley, an archivist who attempted to pinpoint the origins of the tales, is quick to debunk these stories, saying that the Lorton prison didn't come into existence until 1910, not 1904. And there are no Fairfax court records of a Douglas Griffin or a Marcus Walster. And even more
Is the
so,
asylum true?
There has never been an asylum in Fairfax County.
Ah, got him.
But he did a deep dive search into the legends of the Bunny Man, trying to figure out where it came from and how it all started. To start this, Conley looked through a database of historical Fairfax County newspapers to find every murder and killing reported in local press from 1872 to 1973.
Well, we could do that.
Mm-hmm. But
I would never.
He gets paid.
Yeah, I would never.
Even though during this time, Fairfax County was a rural farming community, Conley ended up with over 550 individual mentions of killings. He eliminated any, quote, run-of-the-mill domestic murders and instead concentrated on multiple murders and those involving children, which was able to get that list of 550 down to 3 murders that could have helped serve as the basis for the Bunny Man legend.
Okay.
So because he specifically looked into those involving children, I will give a trigger warning going forward. So the 3 murders he found were as follows.
I don't like when we talk about this stuff.
What, kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's Bunny Man.
Makes me sad.
So, see, you get an urban legend and you also get some true crime in this story.
Yeah, but really sad true crime.
Very sad true crime. So the first story happened on February 24th, 1949, and had made headlines for months. 37-year-old Frances Holaber, I think it's Frances, Holaber and her 8-month-old daughter June were being driven to Fairfax County from D.C. where they lived by her estranged husband Charles. Apparently, they were going to see the new lodge at a nudist colony that Charles belonged to.
In Virginia?
Fairfax County, apparently. I did not look in to see if there was a nudist colony, but I feel like they might not be super open to it. Like,
open about it.
Yes, open about it. Thank you.
Yeah.
After seeing the lodge as they were about to head home, their car got stuck in mud. A heated argument between Frances and Charles ensued. During the argument, Frances grabbed June, walked away, and never returned. Charles slept in his car that night as it was still stuck, and the next morning was able to get a ride back to his home in D.C. He then returned not long after with his brother-in-law and a friend to retrieve the car.
But not the people.
Not his wife and kid?
Yeah.
Well, they had not returned yet.
Well, I know, but you'd think he'd come back and search for them, but now, no, he's just coming back.
We'll get there.
Get the truck.
Don't get ahead.
Well, I'm just going based off what you're saying.
There were also no signs to show that she had come back to the car, so family quickly notified the police. An intense search of the area was organized and involved the Fairfax County Police, Washington detectives, and the Boy Scouts.
My story has Boy Scouts too.
Oh, wow. It was just about 5 p.m. when the searchers were about to call it. They hadn't found anything and had nothing more to go on. That is, until one of the detectives noted that the ground on which they were standing was very soft. They discovered that Frances and her baby daughter had been buried in a shallow grave next to the lodge, less than 200 yards from where Charles's car had been stuck. Frances had been beaten and shot once in the head and once in the heart. Trigger warning, the baby had been buried alive.
Mm.
Charles was quickly identified as the prime suspect.
Yeah.
Duh. And he later confessed to investigators that he had been planning the murder for 3 weeks.
So how was this? Never mind.
That it was always the plan to bring his daughter and wife out to this area to kill them. In his original plan, he had not intended to report his wife as missing, but he had to change his plan when his car got stuck in the mud. The trial for the case took place on January 16, 1950, and after only 4 days, the jury returned a verdict of guilty. Charles was sentenced to die in the electric chair. His attorney tried to pull the insanity plea, though, and eventually, the Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals did overturn the conviction and ordered a new trial. Charles was recommitted to the Southern State Mental Hospital in Marion, Virginia, where he was judged to be insane. From my own analysis, this gives us murder of a child, no less, as well as someone being sent to a mental hospital. So we're trying to get the origins of the story. So we have a murderer who murdered a kid, sent to a mental hospital. Because I know you're going to ask, how does this relate to Bunny Man? That's how.
And these are 3 separate stories that might possibly be the origin.
Correct.
Got
so we're
it.
trying to figure out who Bunny Man is.
I thought, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before that was a murder that had taken place in March of 1927. Miss Minnie Ridgway lived with her husband and 3 children on Telegraph Road in Alexandria.
Oh my God, that's right by me.
I know. No, it's not. We don't know where you live in Alexandria. We're trying not to pinpoint our locations.
Well, yeah. Alexandria is so small, though, so it would be difficult to find me. It's not like Fairfax County. Like, there's one high school in the whole city.
How many high schools are in all of Fairfax or in Arlington County? Alexandria County. No, that's in Fairfax. What? I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just going to keep going on with my story.
Please keep that in.
My brain, for some reason, has stopped working. So on Friday, I can't remember what was happening at work, but someone said something and my brain was not putting things together. I don't even remember what it was, but it was really bad. I don't know. I don't know where I am. Okay.
Lauren, you're here with me. Everything's fine.
Thanks.
Well, maybe.
No. On the morning of March 4th, 1927, a man later identified as Louis Bowerzig called the house in order to set a time to meet with Mr. Ridgway. But when Mr. Bowerzig realized that Mr. Ridgway wasn't home, he came over and attacked Minnie, beating her unconscious.
Jesus.
He then found her 2 daughters, 7-year-old Loretta and 5-year-old Catherine, and bludgeoned them as well. He stole money from the house before fleeing. A nearby neighbor had heard moans coming from the house. He grew concerned and went over to check on Minnie and her family. That is when he discovered the crime that had just occurred and immediately called the authorities. All 3 victims were taken to Alexandria Hospital. Unfortunately,
never mind.
What?
Nah.
We have already said that we can't say, oh, and then not say it.
Well, no, because this would actually pinpoint where I live. So that's why I was like, wait, we're trying not to pinpoint where we live.
Right.
So.
Unfortunately, Loretta died at the hospital. Catherine succumbed to her injury just 8 days later. Minnie recovered and was able to identify the assailant. Bowerzig was arrested at his home and transferred to the jail in Winchester for his own safety.
That's far away.
I know.
But that's probably because Alexandria is a teeny tiny motherfucking town.
It could be. He was executed on July 7th, 1927 for the murders of Loretta and Catherine Ridgway, just 3 months after the horrific attack. So again, in this one, we have a man who violently attacks people regardless of age, gender, personal connection. Nothing matters who he's attacking.
Okay.
Then finally, we have one that took place even earlier than the last in August of 1918. In 1912, Peter Roy, a Danish immigrant, moved from Minnesota to Fairfax. That November, he purchased 180 acres of land near what is today an intersection of Old Keene Mill Road and Seidenstryker Road.
I know Old Keene Mill Road.
I do too. I don't know the other one, but they're both near Burke.
Yeah.
So Roy was a widower as well as a prosperous farmer and active church member. But he didn't live alone. With him lived his eldest daughter, Caroline, her husband, William K. Germain, and their youngest daughter, Eva. His youngest daughter, Eva. It was the morning of August 4th, 1918, and Eva, who was 14, left her home around 9 a.m. to tend to her father's small herd of cows. This shouldn't have taken too long, so when Eva didn't return that evening, her father immediately went out to search. He soon asked neighbors to help, and eventually there was a large group out looking for Eva. After 24 hours of searching, they finally found her. Her body was found tied to a tree in the woods near the old Hans family house. The strings of her apron were tied around her throat. The county coroner concluded that she had been, quote, brutally assaulted before being strangled to death.
Oh my God.
A coroner's jury was appointed. So a coroner's jury is a body convened to, like a body of people,
Mhm.
convened to assist a coroner in an inquest, so determining the identity of the deceased person and the cause of death.
Yeah.
They concluded, quote, "We, the jury, find that Eva Roy came to her death at the hands of some unknown person, and the indications point to Lou Hall as the probable perpetrator of the crime."
Who's that?
So Hall was a 33-year-old woodcutter who lived about half a mile from the scene of the crime and was even seen in the woods near the time of Eva's disappearance. But other suspects kept being introduced to the case. So first was William Worcester, a 16-year-old boy. He was soon arrested for assaulting, quote, "a colored girl." He was also of interest as he had just been released from an insane asylum, but he was eliminated as he wasn't near the scene of Eva's murder. Then there was a soldier who had deserted from Camp A.A. Humphreys, which is now Fort Belvoir.
Mm.
So this soldier was located some days later near Charlottesville, where he was found to have scratches on his face and hands. He also had freshly laundered clothes and claimed to have no memory of his time between leaving Camp Humphreys to being captured in Charlottesville. After weeks of investigation, it was determined that this soldier was not connected to Eva's murder either. A break in the case finally came when escaped Lorton prison inmate Ben Rubin was apprehended. He had been serving a 3-year prison sentence for housebreaking and was arrested in D.C. by police on September 19th for assaulting a little girl. It was while on the way to the police station that Rubin confessed to killing Eva. He claimed that, quote, he met Eva Roy looking after her father's cows. He asked her for food, and in a conversation with her, he told her that he was an ex-convict. She declared she
Is this
would...
the guy that they saw in the woods? No.
No, that's Lou Hall, someone Hall.
Yeah.
She declared she would, quote, turn him up, as he declared, and he became excited and choked her.
Ah.
After more investigations, it was determined that Rubin also wasn't responsible for Eva's murder.
What?
It was determined that he had concocted the story as he wanted to be transferred to the prison in Fairfax, where he believed it would be easier to escape. He was eventually convicted of burglary and escaped from jail, which earned him 4 more years in prison. Finally, Lou Hall was tried for the murder in Fairfax County Court. His first trial resulted in a hung jury with 9 votes for guilty and 3 for innocent. His second trial resulted in a clear verdict of not guilty. So with that, the murderer was never found.
I mean, what you said of why they think it is crazy.
Circumstantial at best.
Even then.
And so this one can go along with the gruesome nature of murder.
Yeah, but not like the escaped part.
Right. But he was also at jail. I don't know. So Conley says that none of these 3 stories were likely candidates for the Bunny Man.
None?
Mm-mm.
You just said...
He said these were the 3 that he thought, and then as he looked into them, he realized they're not candidates. Charles Holliber was caught and incarcerated. Louis Boersig was caught and executed. As for the murder of Eva, while there were many elements that the legend could go off of, Conley said that it's simply too old to be the basis for Bunny Man.
Okay, but Mr. Access to Archives, did he look in any newspapers in the early 1900s that talked about Bunny Man? And there's...
He then searched for any evidence of a man dressed in a rabbit costume terrorizing people in the DMV area.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the story from 1900 whatever.
So that story from 1904, it wasn't published in 1904.
Right.
It was published in 1976.
Right. So we don't know if it happened in 1904.
Correct.
So it might not be that it's later.
Correct.
I know.
But if we're going off of that story, the 1904 story, then he's saying that these ones are too late for it.
I think we need to have a little bit of flexibility in our thinking when it comes to who is the Bunny Man.
So the first article he found was in the Washington Post from October 22nd, 1970, titled, quote, "Man in bunny suit sought in Fairfax." It starts off with, "Fairfax County Police said yesterday they are looking for a man who likes to wear white bunny rabbit costume and throws hatchets through car windows."
Sorry. That's just so stupid.
That's why I had to include the first sentence of this article. So apparently, Air Force Academy cadet Robert Bennett and his fiancée were sitting in their car in the 5400 block of Guinea Road, near one of Bennett's family members' houses, shortly after midnight on Sunday. He said, as they were there, a man dressed in a white suit with long rabbit ears ran out of the nearby bushes and shouted, "You're on private property and I have your tag number." The bunny then threw a wooden-handled hatchet through the right front car window, then skipped off into the night.
That's crazy.
Neither Bennett nor his fiancée were harmed, but Bennett remembers having to pick pieces of glass out of his fiancée's hair. They quickly drove to the police station to report what had happened.
Were they on private property?
They were sitting right outside of their, uncle's house on Guinea Road, just, in the neighborhood. When they arrived at the station, it is said that the hatchet was still lodged into the car. The police asked the couple for a description of the bunny man. Bennett insisted that their assailant had been wearing a white suit with long bunny ears. However, Bennett's fiancée said that their assailant didn't have bunny ears, but rather had a white cabaret of some sort.
A what?
That is a pointed hat that Christians use that was later appropriated by the KKK. So think big pointy white hats.
So what really happened was a KKK member came out and chucked an axe at them.
Very well could
And
be.
then instead of saying that, they're like, it's a bunny.
Well, no, he believes he saw bunny ears. She says, no, it wasn't bunny ears. It was a pointy hat.
Probably can't bring himself to think that his uncle lives in an area where that would be close by.
Maybe. Both Bennett and his fiancée saw the person's face clearly, but due to it being dark out, they were unable to determine the person's race. The police determined...
I think I have an idea.
What?
Of their race.
It's their KKK, of course. The police examined the hatchet to try to see if they could pull fingerprints or anything, but nothing from the examination of the hatchet came back. They also returned to where the incident happened, but they couldn't find any signs of this bunny man. They then returned the hatchet to Bennett, who actually kept it.
Skipping is also like crazy way to like run away.
That's terrifying way.
Like what? Like
A sane person is not going to skip away.
I know. It's just like that's like crazy. And then he skipped away.
So with this hatchet, Bennett mounted it on a plaque with the newspaper article of his incident.
That's stupid.
I like it. I appreciate that. The second was also a Washington Post article, but this one was from October 31st, 1970, so less than a week later. This one was titled, The Rabbit Reappears. This one again starts off saying that a man wearing a furry gray, black, and white rabbit suit with 2 long ears appeared again on Guinea Road. This time, though, the bunny was wielding an axe and chopping away at a roof support on a new house. Paul Phillips, a private security guard for the construction company, said he just saw the rabbit standing on the front porch of a new but unoccupied house. Phillips said, quote, I started talking to him, and that's when he started chopping. Then the rabbit said, all you people trespass around here, as he whacked 8 gashes into the pole. He continued on by saying, if you don't get out of here, I'm going to bust you in the head. The security guard ran to get a weapon, but when he returned, the bunny man was gone. Phillips
Are
described
you supposed to have that on you?
You would think. He described the bunny man as being 5'8", 160 pounds, and appearing to be in his early 20s. The Fairfax County Police Department
But
has...
he was wearing a black and gray bunny suit.
Black, gray, and white bunny suit.
Black, gray, white.
Mm-hmm. The Fairfax County Police Department has no official record of the assault on Cadet Bennett and his wife, but they do have an investigative report relating to the vandalism incident at the construction site. J.L. Johnson of the Criminal Investigation Bureau took over the case. While looking into the case and over all of the evidence, he found no concrete leads, but he did get a tip from a caller. The caller claimed that he had received a phone call from someone who identified themselves as the Axeman. The Axeman allegedly said, quote, Mr. blank caller man, you have been messing up my property by dumping tree stumps, limbs, and brush and other things on the property. You can make everything right by meeting me tonight and talking about the situation.
Maybe this man is very upset by the abundance of construction and growth in the area that I can only imagine was happening at the time.
Keep that in mind.
And was protecting the bunnies.
Oh.
And he's
But
like...
then why would he be mutilating the bunnies?
Well, you didn't say that he was just throwing axes at people.
Yeah.
I think the mutilated bunny part is someone made that up. Because what I'm thinking is he's like, get off my property, because he's like, I'm a bunny. I was here first in nature. I don't know where the throwing axe part comes in, but that's what I'm going to guess.
Okay, keep that in mind.
Okay.
So the caller said the Axeman sounded to be a white man in his late teens or early 20s, and they assumed that this was the bunny man that security guard Phillips had seen. So the police set up a stakeout to catch the so-called Axeman.
Stop it.
But he never showed up. Johnson was not able to find any information that would allow him to pursue the case further, so on March 14th, 1971, he marked it as inactive. Following the night of November 6, 1970, so just like a week after this October 31st article, 50 people called the police claiming to have seen the bunny man. After these events were reported, urban legends started to pop up about the bunny man, as well as horror films and stories that all took on different variations of the tale. One of these new variations goes like this. A couple of teens were driving with their girlfriends looking to scare them. They decided to go out to the old railroad bridge where the bunny man was killed. It was almost midnight. The boys stopped under the bridge and dragged the scare girls out of the car, teasing them that the ghost of the bunny man would get them. The teasing became too much for one of the girls, who pushed the boys away and ran out from under the bridge onto the road.
Yeah.
In that,
I'm fighting you.
Yeah.
I've kicked someone in the face before because they tickled my foot.
People at work always joke about pushing me into the elevator, to make me go on it. And then I joke about the fact that they will get an elbow to the nose.
when it comes to things that are scary, I don't know. You can tease all you want, but not when it comes to shit I'm afraid of. That's not because I'm not laughing.
One of the elevators at work the other day was stuck on our floor with the doors open right next to us. And they're like, Lauren, go ahead and press the button. I said, you've got to be crazy if you think I'm going to step in an elevator where the doors are not closing.
They were working on the elevator at school, and at one point, he had opened it and it wasn't there.
Oh,
Trying to get a picture of it to send to you.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I still use it.
Nope. Also, the elevator, I had Alex go in. So she was going to press the button to see if it would go to another floor, like if the doors are closed. And she goes, all of the buttons are pressed.
Very rarely do I have to go from all the way to the bottom to the top. And I'll make a deal with myself. I have to climb the stairs once,
Okay.
because for the most part, I'm going between floors 3 and 2, and then I'll definitely take the stairs. But it's 80 fucking stairs. These ceilings are huge.
I'd rather do the stairs. So at that moment, she runs out onto the bridge, or under the bridge onto the road. At that moment, at the exact stroke of midnight, she saw a bright flash of light under the bridge. When the light faded, she saw her friends' bodies mutilated and hanging from the bridge.
See, she's a smart lady.
And their car had a bloody axe stuck into the windshield. Ever since that night, local kids gather every Halloween at Bunnyman Bridge, but they all scatter before midnight as none want to be caught under the bridge when the Bunnyman comes.
Can you imagine? Can you fucking imagine? You're with people or whatever, and they're like, I bet you won't, and egging you on and are fucking relentless. And then 11:55 rolls around and everyone just casually agrees, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah, we shouldn't be
what
here.
the fuck?
Let's not test it. Well, it's like any of those creepy games, like any of those the dark games that we've talked about.
But if they don't stay, then what are we going to talk about?
And so this part is unsettling. In 2019, a man's body was found near the bridge, only 900 feet away. The article that reported on this death made sure to point out that there was no connection between the legend and the man's death.
How do they know?
But of course, that is where people's minds first went to.
How do they know?
They don't know. That's the thing. That's the thing. It is still unknown who the Bunnyman was or what motivated him to act in such a bizarre manner, but Conley mentioned that, with the few definitive clues we have been able to venture a guess. Those clues that he spoke about are, on October 18th, the Bunnyman accused Robert Bennett of trespassing. On October 29th to the 31st, date skewed, the Bunnyman told security Paul Phillips that you all trespass here. And on November 4th, the self-styled Axeman accused the unnamed representative of Parks King West subdivision of dumping debris on his property.
See?
We can maybe venture a guess that this Bunnyman, should the 3 incidents be from the same person, was upset about the changes that Fairfax County was going through.
I'm a genius.
The pastures and woods that they knew were given way to roads, subdivisions, and shopping centers.
He's just trying to protect the bunnies, man.
You're such a dork. Conley said, quote, being forced to watch helplessly while the face of your community changes around you can elicit strange behavior in some people. But with Conley's evidence, it appears that with the available evidence that we found, the October 1970 events are the genesis of the Bunnyman legend.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes the only sense in anything you've told me thus far.
So I read another legend that also concerns a young man in Clifton around the bridge. So this young man came upon the bridge while traveling. Later, he killed his parents and dragged their bodies into the woods to hang them from the bridge. He later committed suicide.
But I thought he was traveling.
I don't know. Then in 1943, 3 teenagers, 2 boys and 1 girl, decided to go to the Bunnyman Bridge on Halloween night. The following morning, their bodies were slashed open, hanging in front of the tunnel. Their feet had notes attached that read, "You'll never catch the Bunnyman." But nowadays, the legend of Bunnyman seems to revolve around the Bunnyman Bridge located in Fairfax County. It is known as the Colchester Overpass and was built in 1906 near the site of Sangster's Station. I don't know that. A Civil War-era railroad station on what was once the Orange and Alexandria Railroad. The bridge is set back in a residential area and is at the end of a single-lane winding road. It is said that the Bunnyman likes his privacy, and to keep that privacy, he will scare away or kill any trespassers using his weapon of choice, an axe. And that if you visit the bridge and walk down the tunnel at midnight, the Bunnyman will snatch you before you get a word out, slash your throat with his axe, and hang you from the entrance of the bridge.
Is it midnight, it's like curfew or something? Like if I do it at 7 p.m., will I be fine?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Your body will swing back and forth like a Halloween decoration left over after the spooky night itself.
Lauren.
That's what it's in quotes. I read that in an article and had to include it. Some say that if you go on Halloween, you will find a group of kids near the bridge having a good time the way they supposedly did in life. And you'll want to leave before midnight. If you don't, right before the clock strikes 12, you will start to see bunnies showing up near the bridge.
How does anyone know if everyone's leaving before midnight?
No, this is before midnight. This is before. So people are still here before midnight. This signals his arrival. Then a light, perhaps from the train that struck him down, will appear above the bridge, followed by the figure of Griffin, the bunny man himself.
Every time we talk about like trains and stuff like that, I think of the Hey Arnold episode with the ghost train.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it every single time.
That one scared me so bad.
100%.
Right when midnight hits, he will appear under the bridge and his soul will glow brightly, blinding you. If you don't run at this point, he may kill you, slashing and eviscerating you the same way he did his victims in decades past. On Halloween night, the bridge is known to draw in tons of teenagers looking for a scare and a chance to see the bunny man. But in recent years, since 2003 actually, police have started to block off access to the bridge on Halloween. During Halloween 2011,
Teenagers gotta ruin everything.
there was a checkpoint in the area. Over 200 people from as far as the Pennsylvania-Maryland state line were turned away.
Damn. See, I would go to a creepy place not on Halloween. You gotta go in the off season.
Yeah, when it's not busy and like
Right.
not a ton of people.
Like when they wouldn't expect someone to be there. They're like, oh shit,
right.
someone's here.
Right,
Oh, my
that's when you
bad.
have to
Hold
go.
on, let me start again and I'll come out and scare you.
So London has a similar version.
London?
Some detainees in Wembley police station were said to have been beaten up in their cells by an assailant dressed in a bunny mascot costume. In another version of their story, an old locker was forced open and inside was a bunny costume with bloodstains.
Ew.
So we have just a couple experiences and sightings.
Liar.
On November 4th, 1970, apparently, 3 kids from Seat Pleasant claimed to have seen a man in a bunny costume and a hatchet. Halloween of 1972, a woman and her friend were walking when a man in a bunny costume tried to grab the woman's friend. They fought him off before running away.
I can believe that these things happen. I do not believe it was the bunny man.
Oh, yeah. In the early 1970s, a paper boy saw a man in a bunny costume dragging an axe down the street. The boy hid behind a tree before the bunny man could see him.
That must have been so traumatizing.
That would have been horrifying.
That must have been so
Even me
traumatizing.
seeing that now at this age, that would be terrifying.
I'd be like, I'm an adult. I know it's not real. I'm an adult. I know it's not real.
No, unless it is a real man wearing a bunny costume dragging an axe. That's even more terrifying.
Well, I know, but like, you know, in the back of your mind, he's probably doing it to be terrifying.
Or he's crazy and he's gonna axe you up. A man told Spooky Appalachia about an experience he had. It was a fall afternoon and he was walking home from school when he passed someone walking down the street wearing a bunny man suit. The person said that out of the corner of his eye, they kept seeing the bunny man behind them. Whenever they turned around, the bunny man was just standing there watching. They would start walking again as soon as the person did. Eventually, the person who rode in sprinted home, got inside, and locked the doors. They haven't seen that person again, the bunny man, but they questioned if it was a person trying to recreate the legend or if it was the ghost of the bunny man himself.
Yeah.
And so I had talked about this at work. We were like talking about Bunny Man, and my one friend told me a story. So at work, on Friday, I messaged him and I was like, "Can you tell me your story again?" And so this is his story. He had a friend who worked for Fairfax Police Department. That friend's sergeant loved a good prank. He would wait until Halloween when he knew local kids would be going to Bunny Man Bridge to do the usual teenager things. He would run a fog machine and hide in the woods.
Stop.
After he heard the teenagers start to gather under the bridge, he would emerge from the woods in a full Bunny Man costume.
That is fucking hilarious. That is genius.
Of course, this would cause the kids to run away screaming.
That's amazing.
It always gave the sergeant a good laugh, a good trick on Halloween, and a way of keeping the urban legend alive.
That is amazing.
I know.
Bravo, sir. Bravo.
Incredible.
Very.
So, like you said, Bunny Man Brewing is a brewery that has taken on the legend. It is themed around the Bunny Man. If you look into the woods near the brewery, you can see the Bunny Man peering at you from behind a tree.
That's not okay.
There's a little statue. It's so funny. It is located on Guinea Road, which is the same road where the 2 main experiences occurred, and it's only 14 minutes away from the actual Bunny Man Bridge.
I wonder if I drove over it.
Ooh. This is a fun fact to end on. Today, many people believe that the popular movie Donnie Darko was inspired by Fairfax's own Bunny Man.
I have no idea. But I've never heard that movie before.
It's a scary movie starring Jake Gyllenhaal, and he dresses up. It's like a dark comedy. He dresses up in like a bunny suit, and I haven't seen it either. But apparently,
I've never even heard of it.
Oh, I have, like Donnie Darko. Oh, well,
you can say it
apparently,
again. I still haven't heard of it.
Apparently, the writer was from Fairfax and grew up like in this area.
Yeah.
And then, they believe that the movie was not based on the Bunny Man, but inspired by the Bunny Man.
I wonder because Bad Bunny is from the area.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, not him. I take that back. I always get Bad Bunny and Benny Blanco confused.
Oh, yeah. Benny Blanco is from the area.
Yes. Never mind. It's not as cool anymore.
I was about to say, what an incredible connection.
Yeah, no. Bad Bunny is from, like, Puerto Rico or something.
Yep, nope, not Virginia.
Yeah, no.
But yes,
Willy
that's the tale of
Wonka.
Bunny Man. Because I know we know the tale, like, on a very surface level, but I was like, nah, let's go into Bunny Man.
That's wild.
My friend recommended that we record this episode at Bunny Man Brewing,
Mm,
but I said, I don't know how well the sound would be,
correct.
and I don't know how that would work,
Correct.
but we should go.
Yes.
Because I also have a food truck that gives big slices of pizza. Yum.
Yum.
It's actually a really nice place.
Those hurt my tummy.
Big slices of pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they make you happy.
For a very short-lived amount of time.
Yeah. And it's also one of the breweries where there's not like a ton of beers on tap, but you get like a little beer card. And then you can pour your own, which I love.
Fun.
Yeah. So we should go to Bunny Man Brewing to really. Okay, it's the off season. Hear me out.
No.
We go to Bunny Man Bridge.
Nope.
It's the off season.
No.
And it's not going to be at midnight.
No.
It's going to be during the day.
No.
You just said.
No, I said that's what people should do.
And we should be those people.
No.
Why would you be afraid of Bunny Man Bridge during the day?
Because I'm afraid of a lot of things during the day.
But it's during the day.
Just because it's during the day doesn't make it less terrifying.
We're not going to see Bunny Man during the day.
How do you know?
I have a very strong feeling, or I would have found more encounters of people seeing Bunny Man.
Well, now we've put it out into the ether, and I know that we would talk about it before we went, and I know some asshole would scare the shit out of me.
No. If someone scares you at Bunny Man Bridge, I will buy you a beer. I will pay for your whole tab. I think that's convincing.
You don't know me at all.
And I'll buy you a pizza. Slice. Good plan. Can't wait to do this.
You're buying me, like, a thing that I want, that I can look at and remind myself I don't hate you. I don't know what that thing would be, but it certainly would be at any fucking brewery. I don't even like breweries all that much. I get the lightest. I literally go up there and I'm like, what's the closest thing you have to Bud Light? Like, I'm not a beer person.
True. But there's some things that aren't beers, so tasting-ish. There are things that didn't taste like a full beer.
Just letting you know that offer you made is not even remotely in the realm of close to being like a maybe. It's like
And then I would go out and buy you a glass of wine.
No.
Yep.
I would want a nice meal.
Okay, fine. I'll treat you to a nice meal.
Like a nice steak.
Wow, you're bougie. Okay, I'll take you to Outback.
You want to traumatize me.
You're not going to be traumatized
Take
seeing
me
a
to
bridge.
Outback?
We can get a bloomin' onion.
Oh my God.
Well, that's Bunny Man.
I hate you.
Okay, anywho, what's your story about tonight, Mackenzie?
Okay. Finding a haunted place in Virginia that predates the Civil War is not very difficult.
No.
The first settlement in Virginia dates back to 1604 when Jamestown was established, as you heard in our notes, when they almost starved to death.
You're welcome for the information.
Mm-hmm. In fact, according to Google, Jamestown was the first official settlement in America.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we ate each other. So this house I will be talking about predates the Revolutionary War. So naturally, this place is considered haunted as fuck.
Yep. That's about the definition of it. Before the Revolutionary War,
Haunted as fuck.
fuck.
Anything that's over 50 years old. Like, because anyone could be talking about anything that has nothing to just houses, a person in a house, like whatever.
Person in a house.
It's just like not even necessarily talking about like looking for houses or buying houses, but just like something gets brought up with the date of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, I will interrupt the conversation and go, I bet it's haunted as fuck.
I always think that.
See, but I say it out loud.
I don't. I let that just ruminate in my mind.
Nope. I always go, I bet that place is super haunted. Or I say as fuck, depending on who I'm around.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then you can say if you want to hear more, listen to our podcast. I do say that a lot.
Well, they usually keep carrying on with the story that I interrupted.
You are a pro at interrupting.
Mm-hmm. But I got good thoughts, so.
Do you?
Like, that place sounds haunted as shit.
Oh my God.
That's a great thought that should be shared out loud. Anywho'ser. Dunlora Mansion, located near Charlottesville, Virginia, has a rich history dating back to the early 18th century. The land was originally acquired in 1724 by Major Thomas Carr for his services to the crown. Thomas Carr was Tom Jefferson's nephew. Tom Jefferson.
Oh, that good old Tom Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson. Jeez. Around 1730, a farmhouse was constructed on the property, later known as Dunlora Mansion. Every time I said Dunlora, I thought of Dunloring.
Dunloring. Yeah.
I don't know if there's any relation. I mean, they're not in the same place, obviously.
Then probably not.
Yeah.
They're just like, 3 hours away from each other?
Casually. The estate remained within the Carr family for generations, although, because last names changed, it's not going to be like Carr all the way through. At one point, it becomes the Moons.
The Moons?
Yeah.
Ooh, I love that.
Apparently, there's a moon ghost
Ooh.
that traumatized the Moon family.
I love that.
Yeah. But I ran out of time, so that's all you get on it. Not so great now being on the other side, huh?
Of what, running out of time?
Not getting the rest of his story.
That was one time. And the next episode, I came back with the rest of the 2-sentence story.
Yeah, but the fact that you think I'm ever going to let it go.
Oh my God.
Do you not know me?
Like Mean Girls. She made out with a hot dog. That was one time.
Yeah, but that's all it takes. Anyway, in the early 19th century, Edward Baptist, a prominent Baptist minister.
A miniature Baptist.
Oh, I meant to say minister. My apologies.
It's so funny because you said it, we both paused.
Minister and educator operated a ministerial education center. I don't know, I didn't say that right. Education center at Dunlora between 1830 and 1832. The initiative was part of the Virginia Baptist Education Society's efforts to provide formal education to aspiring ministers before establishing a permanent, jeez,
Oh my God.
dyslexia is out today, institution. However, it is believed that the house stayed in the same family since it was built, but it was difficult to find historical records that shared more about the house's background.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, Dunlora Mansion has been shrouded in dark legends and eerie folklore. One such tale tells of a mysterious woman rumored to be a witch who claimed the mansion in the early 1900s, setting the stage for unspeakable horrors.
Oh.
So, you're going to have to suspend your disbelief. Don't ask logical questions.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. All right, I got it.
Just
I got it.
go with the tale.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I can do that.
In the summer of 1920, a small group of 6 Boy Scouts and their devoted leader pitched their tents near the secluded mansion, unaware of its sinister reputation. The night began innocently enough, with the group sharing dinner and swapping campfire stories under a starry sky. Soon after, they retired to their tents, expecting a peaceful slumber. But in the dead of night, unsettling scratching and low grumbling noises disturbed the silence near the boys' tent. Believing it might be a wild animal or a harmless prank, the scout leader armed himself with a flashlight and ventured into the darkness.
No.
To his dismay, when he arrived, the tent lay empty and his calls for the boys were met with eerie silence.
So he went into the woods to search for it, and then he came back.
No. He went to go look at the tents.
Where was he?
He was in his tent.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And he went to go check their tents first.
Right.
Convinced they had wandered off for an adventure, he pressed on into the woods to search for them. After a fruitless search, a flickering light caught his eye in the distance. Its irregular glow led him toward an imposing, decrepit building, the very silhouette of Dunlora Mansion.
Ooh.
Hoping the boys had sought shelter inside, he approached the front door, which creaked open at his gentle knock. When I was reading this story on Mysterious Universe, the person was like, apparently he's never seen a scary movie before, and he went inside.
If you open a door to an abandoned mansion and it creaks,
Yeah.
you don't go in.
Inside the mansion was a portrait of decay. Moldy furniture, grimy floors, and layers of dust whispered of long-forgotten days. Room after room yielded no sign of the missing scouts. Just as dread began to overwhelm him, a soft child's voice echoed from the shadowy depths of the cellar. Maybe that's when the person said, clearly he's never seen a scary movie because he goes down there. Well, it was also in 1920s. So.
Don't do any of these. Okay, scary movies weren't a big thing probably then.
And remember what I said at the beginning.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Suspend all beliefs.
Correct. Driven by a desperate hope, the scout leader descended the rickety stairs into a cold, dark basement. Some versions of the tale claim he found nothing. Others whisper that he discovered a lone Boy Scout's hat abandoned on the floor.
Ooh.
Then, amid the oppressive darkness, his flashlight revealed a ghastly vision. The contorted face of an old woman, her lips curling into a Cheshire-like smile, revealing yellow, pointed teeth.
Ew.
Terror seized him, and he bolted from the mansion into the surrounding forest. In his frantic escape, he tripped and landed hard, his foot striking something wet and solid. Shining his light downward, he froze in horror. One of the scouts lay dead in the mud, his stomach grotesquely torn open.
Ew.
As his beam swept across the scene, it revealed a chilling row of disemboweled bodies.
Dun dun dun.
The following day, authorities discovered the scout leader half-conscious and babbling incoherently in a roadside ditch. When they returned to the campsite, they found the boys back in their tents, lifeless, with their bodies marred by the same grisly injuries, and with some of the organs grotesquely smoldering over a dying campfire.
Ew.
The leader's frantic recounting of the night was dismissed as madness. Ultimately, he was arrested for murder and confined in an asylum for the criminally insane. He's Bunny Man.
Honestly, criminally insane, disemboweling kids
Just wasn't near a bridge.
that we know of.
According to legend, in the aftermath of this horror, 7 twisted trees mysteriously sprang up in the area, rumored to be the vessels that now harbor the restless spirits of the slain scouts and the fractured sanity of their leader.
Ew.
Pretty creepy, right?
Yeah.
So there were some mentions of people who had been there. So I'm going to share.
To the mansion?
Could really only find like one that was like kind of recent, but it was posted on Saturn Moons. It was a Tumblr site, like a Tumblr account. And the witness says that he and some friends went to investigate the area, and this is what he said happened. It's fairly easy to find the road you need. Dunlora is mostly known for being a rich neighborhood, but while you're driving along the main road in the subdivision, there will be a road that clearly does not belong. It is a gravelly dirt road. I already had a sense of foreboding when we turned onto the road. As we continued our drive down the road, damn, this guy says road a lot. I spied a wispy translucent something at the top left of my windshield.
Of the road.
Yeah. It couldn't have been a tree branch because the majority of the trees are bare. Plus, the last I checked, trees don't grow wispy objects.
That is true, unless Spanish moss. That's kind of wispy looking.
But it's not white or translucent.
No, it's not.
We eventually made it fairly far back when we came across 2 stone pillars on either side of the road ahead of us. Beyond these pillars was absolute darkness. Immediately, we all had the same reaction of something not wanting us to be there.
Ew.
We all had this strong feeling at the same time. I immediately turned the truck around and we got the hell out of there. I wish we had gotten pictures, but at the moment, we all just wanted to leave. One of the girls with me has friends who previously explored the area, and they have the same feelings about the place that we did. On Tuesday evening, we'll be returning with a posse of people to explore. I don't normally get this way about places. My legs were shaking during the drive away from there. Whatever it could have possibly have been didn't follow us because that feeling left after we got off that road. A part of me thinks that it was all in our imagination and there are rational explanations for everything, while the other part of me knows that there's something that didn't want us there. So then there's some people who have claimed to have lived there. This is by Trod app
Okay.
on Reddit.
Okay.
I lived in the house as a kid in the early 1970s. Never heard a single spooky story about it the whole time we were there, although the private Moon family cemetery was only about 100 feet from the veranda. So, like, the people who had, like, owned the place throughout the years, most of the families buried on the property. Once every couple of years, a funeral would trundle down the 2-mile driveway from Rio Road to the house to bury one of their relatives. There were several adult kids at the time, 7 as I recall, who could never agree on what to do with the property. They'd leased out the farmland and they rented the main house where we lived and the in-laws' cottage next door, but they couldn't agree on selling the whole property, 500 acres as I recall. And then resident a Mr. Can?
Okay.
I don't know. Also read it. This is my family home where I grew up, which was sadly sold and recently demolished, which I think is true because I tried to find it on Zillow and I couldn't.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Not fun that it was recently demolished, but fun that you tried to find it.
Well, because there's a change.org page for a petition to keep it from being demolished. And there was like some sort of realtor page, like people, like someone trying to sell it.
Oh, wow.
And it said that it was most recently updated December 2024. But when I went on Zillow, it just looked like land. It didn't look like any structure was on there.
Huh.
So
interesting.
I don't know. We, the kids, tried everything to convince our families to save it, but we ultimately had no say. I always imagined saving enough up to buy it and fix it up. I would have loved to turn it into a museum. It's been truly devastating to see this property gone. but I can at least state that 1, the Boy Scout story is a myth. 2, the house was 100% haunted, though everything I encountered was very friendly. And 3, we used to get a lot of trespassers back in the day, and my mom would chase them. My mom would chase them off in her nightgown on horseback with a shotgun, LMAO.
Oh my
So the
God.
witch everyone refers to was actually just her.
That's incredible.
Right. Newspaper accounts and police records offer no evidence of the alleged Boy Scout murders at this location. Additionally, Kenny Taylor, the caretaker of Dunlora Mansion, insists that the property has been owned by the same family since it was built, which is relatively true.
Mhm.
This raises questions about the mysterious witch figure in the legend. Was she a family member or an unrelated figure? I found a newspaper from the 1960s that like talks about like this old house that's been in this family and is like this prized thing. And so it was definitely someone was living there. Like
Mhm.
families were living there in the if it was in the 1960s. So it wasn't abandoned in 1920.
Right.
So
Huh.
most likely. But it was a creepy myth, so I wanted to share it. The story gained traction when it went viral online in 2016, suggesting it might have started as a creepypasta that evolved on its own.
Oh, love creepypastas.
Yet many people still claim to have experienced these events firsthand, leaving us to wonder what to believe. So I asked ChatGPT to create a story with us. Now ChatGPT is having this whole thing where it like shows the AI reasoning and before it gives you an answer. And so I just have to read you what it said because it was really funny.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's a little creepy, but this one's funny. Okay, so I said, can you write a creepypasta about Lauren and Kenzie from a Scary State podcast exploring the Dunlora Mansion and having an encounter with the rumored witch that is said to live there? So reasoned for about 19 seconds. And one of the things it said, okay, it seems we're asked, like, I don't know who it's talking to. Okay, it seems we're asked to write a creepypasta involving Lauren and Kenzie from a Scary State podcast exploring the Dunlora Mansion and having an encounter with a witch. But wait, I need to confirm. Are Lauren and Kenzie real people or just characters in this horror podcast? A Scary State. Actually, it seems like they're real people involved in a real podcast about spooky stuff. Well, I'm definitely writing about them, but now I got to figure out how to spin a chilling tale. And then it goes into how it's going to.
That sounded like your thoughts.
Yeah. But it was just funny.
Like, are they real? They are real. This is what they do. Now I have to figure it out. How am I going to figure it out?
This is so funny. So I like the only reason I know parts of it was because of like how I set up my thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't read it.
Okay.
So like we're both.
Oh, we're
hearing-
experiencing this at the same time.
We are.
Oh God. Okay.
'Cause I haven't read it yet. Okay. Gotta get my creepy. That was gross. Sorry.
Ew.
In the dead of night, Lauren and Kenzie set out to explore Dunlora Mansion, a
Why?
crumbling estate shrouded in legend and thick with secrets. The mansion's silhouette loomed against a bruised sky, its broken windows like empty, accusing eyes. For the duo behind a Scary State podcast, it was the perfect stage for a spine-chilling investigation. They crept through the rusted iron gates, the crunch of fallen leaves underfoot punctuating the silence.
Mackenzie would never.
Inside,
She won't even go to a bridge during the daytime.
Remember what I said.
Suspend all belief.
Inside, the air was stale and heavy, carrying whispers of a forgotten past. Faded portraits lined the walls, their subjects forever trapped in expressions of sorrow and dread. As they moved deeper into the mansion's labyrinth corridors, an unsettling energy seemed to follow, a cold presence that made each step feel like a trespass into forbidden territory. This is where I would have stopped reading. In one neglected parlor, dust motes danced in the pale beam of their flashlights. There, etched into the decaying wood of an antique table, were symbols that pulsed with a faint, otherworldly glow. Lauren's recording equipment captured every creak and hushed whisper of wind, while Kenzie's nerves sparked with both fear and exhilaration. I don't know about the second part. They exchanged tense glances, knowing that every shadow might conceal the secrets they'd come to uncover. Then, in a hidden chamber behind a partially collapsed wall, they found remnants of dark rituals, a circle of salt, scattered herbs that stank of decay, and an ancient grimoire? I have no idea what that word is.
I don't know.
With pages brittle as old bones.
Oh, it's like, it sounds like the thing from Wicked. The Grim something, the book she reads out of.
Like a spell book?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go.
We are dealing with a witch.
That's true. The oppressive silence shattered as a voice, soft yet piercing, slithered through the darkness.
Ew.
You should not have come.
Oh.
From the gloom emerged a figure, a gaunt woman with wild, tangled hair, her eyes that burned with an unearthly light. Dressed in tatters that hinted at a bygone era, she moved with a deliberate, almost gliding grace. The air around her seemed to ripple with a power that defied explanation, and her presence brought a chill that sank deep into their bones. The woman identified herself as the long-forgotten witch of Dunlora Mansion, cursed to linger among its ruins. She recounted a tale of bitter betrayal and forbidden magic, a curse cast centuries ago that bound her spirit to the mansion and condemned to eternal twilight of despair. As she spoke, the room darkened further. The spectral shapes danced at the edge of their vision. Lauren and Kenzie found themselves caught in a web of ancient, malevolent forces. The mansion's very walls began to pulse with life, echoing with eerie laughter and the rustle of unseen movements. In a desperate bid to escape the tightening grip of the witch's curse, Lauren fumbled through the spellbook, discovering a fragmented incantation of protection. With trembling resolve, she recited the words aloud, and for a fleeting moment the oppressive force seemed to waver. But the witch only smiled.
Ew.
A slow, chilling curl of her lips, and with a final haunting whisper she warned, "Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed." The very fabric of reality bent around them as the mansion convulsed in response to their defiance. In that chaotic clash of ancient magic and mortal fear, time itself fractured, leaving Lauren and Kenzie suspended between the horrors of the past and the future forever altered.
No.
When the first light of dawn broke through the grimy windows, the mansion fell silent once more. Lauren and Kenzie emerged forever changed, their minds haunted by visions and their hearts burdened with a secret too terrible to forget.
Oh my God.
Dunlora Mansion stood as a testament to a cursed legacy, a place where the boundaries between our world and the unspeakable dark are perilously thin, and where the mysteries are best left undisturbed. So yeah, that's what I came up with if we were to go there.
All right, so based on that story, we should not go there.
No.
So we're not.
I thought it was kind of cool though, because
suspended.
you like the witchy stuff and you perform like a little spell.
I know, I do like that part.
Didn't work, but
It didn't work. And it probably just screwed us over more.
it seemed like, yes.
Because now we were caught between the past and the future, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
Which I guess we technically always are caught between the past and the future.
Okay, we're going to stop right now. I will say,
Before I
though,
spiral.
that there is, I doubt it's abandoned anymore, but there's a house somewhere around here. Like, it was in this area that my mom had taken me to when I was in like 5th grade with my friend at the time. And because she had been there with like my dad, and they were actually able to go inside
Oh.
because someone had been like working on it. And she just talked about how beautiful this place was.
Of course she did.
So we went, and it's like creepy because it's like abandoned.
Right.
And it's huge.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, this is where we die.
Exactly. They'll find our bodies in the morning.
So I was freaking out. We walked around the house and then back to the front. And I was like, we're leaving right now. I don't want to be here anymore. I was partially afraid we'd get in trouble because that's always my fear,
Yeah.
is getting in trouble. And then the other part too was just, who knows what's going to fucking pop out.
Yeah, I mean, I told you my parents and I used to go explore abandoned buildings when we were younger.
You know, we only did that one time
Oh, no, we did it often.
because that was as many times as I would do it. I don't even know if I wanted to do it then.
You clearly didn't.
I think I wanted to go inside because I love looking inside other people's houses.
Oh, I do too.
So I think that was like the draw to it, but
Yeah.
it was not open.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure someone definitely lives there now.
Oh.
But yeah, it's like kind of like this one where it's like it's in a neighborhood, but you kind of have to go down like a longer driveway to get to it.
So it's a place where it wants to be secluded and doesn't want people coming.
Yep.
Yep.
But that's this area. Like I think about like my dad's old house, and like you had to go down a driveway.
Yeah, but it wasn't that long of a driveway. It wasn't like a driveway where it was like, I'm hidden back in the woods.
Well, we
because
had
this is my
another
driveway.
one, the other pipe stem, that was like that.
Yeah. But when I think of like a driveway like that, I think of like the ones out in like, not the country, but like out there where it's
Well,
like
yeah.
a mile long driveway to get to the house.
Yeah. But this whole area has like a lot of trees comparatively to other places in Northern Virginia. So it's very dark.
Yes, that is true.
There's-
It is very dark.
For whatever reason, this place doesn't believe in fucking streetlights.
No, they don't.
It drives me nuts.
And I know that when I drive in the morning to work and I'm like, it is dark.
Mm-hmm. It's scary.
It is a little scary.
It's a little scary. So yeah.
I don't mind not going to this one.
Cool. Oh, great. I don't even think we can. So
We can't. So, I mean,
I'm pretty
that's
sure
good
it
too.
doesn't even exist anymore.
See, it's so weird, like, hearing a story like this because I'm so used to us talking about haunted places and, like, haunted buildings in other states, but it's like, it's our state. And I'm like, that's so weird. This is our state.
We know where everything is.
And there's, like, haunted things here in this state.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
actually a lot of haunted things in this state.
Well, yeah, because we're so fucking old.
I know.
People have been here for so goddamn long.
It's just so fun.
Yeah. But some of it is a little, like, redundant.
Yeah.
Everything's haunted by a Confederate soldier.
Ugh, I know.
So, like...
It is kind of boring, that part.
Yeah.
Or, like, somehow haunted by some president somehow.
Right. So it's like, to find the pre, post, whatever, Civil War type houses, I chose this one because nothing was mentioned of a Confederate soldier.
Which we love to not hear about them.
Correct. Just a witch.
I love the witch.
So,
I love hearing about witches.
yeah. So, the Dunlora Mansion. I don't know why it's named that.
That was no one's, like, ever family name?
Mm-mm.
Huh.
No, I think his name was, like, Thomas Carr.
Oh, yeah, you did
And
say
then
Carr.
he was related to Thomas Jefferson.
Oh.
I think his wife's name was Martha, right?
Thomas Jefferson's?
Yeah.
One of them was. Or was it George Washington's wife was Martha?
Yeah. What was his wife's name?
Thomas Jefferson?
Yeah. Thought it was also Martha. Martha Jefferson. Martha Washington is definitely correct.
Teresa is my guess. Oh, yeah, Martha.
Ah.
All right, let's look up Washington's wife.
Martha.
Martha Washington's wife. Yeah, okay, so they were both Martha. Look at us.
Wow.
Wow.
It's like Martha was like the equivalent of like John back then. Or Thomas.
Martha and John and Martha and Thomas. Martha and George.
Yep.
All the old king names.
Basic white names, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, that's Virginia.
Yeah.
Got a nice little scary state.
She's a little spooky.
She was a little spooky.
I think I would probably end up being more nervous if we talked about like an unsolved or whatever, because I'm like, oh, that's here near us.
Well, our very first Virginia episode, Nora talked about a serial killer.
But I thought that was solved because it was the first one to use DNA.
I think it was. But it's still like, oh my God, a serial killer was here in Virginia?
But wasn't that in like the 90s? Before we were even born?
Don't remember. Oh, but you want like a current day.
Yeah, okay, so think about when you are listening to like a documentary of a serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
Before they catch them, one of the things that people say is like it's unsolved, and so the community is scared.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so I feel like if we were to read an unsolved like that, that would be scary.
That would be scary.
So sorry if we do that to you in your area.
Because we know we would be scared of us.
Yeah, we'd be very scary.
It works perfectly for a scary state.
Yeah. I think I know what I'm going to do for your birthday.
Ooh, yeah. The next episode is going to be my birthday episode. And
On your birthday.
Oh, on my birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Do we know what we're doing on Saturday?
No, I don't have any plans yet.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll have your present.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, stay scary.
Stay safe. Oh, wait.
What?
Sorry. I just am really excited because we started posting our new look.
Yes, we have.
So we have on Tuesdays will be a state spotlight, just quick here's some stuff maybe you didn't know, like inventions or firsts, famous people who've lived here besides you and I.
Yeah, obviously.
And stuff like that. For those, what I'm gonna try to do is for each state or for each thing, it's gonna have like a funky hat that has to do with the state. I have one ready for Virginia.
Ooh, okay.
Some might be repeats because I'm not going to know what else to do. So there might be a lot of states that have like a cowboy hat.
That's fine.
But I didn't give Wes one.
Okay, good.
I gave us something funnier.
All right.
Yeah.
Can't wait
So
to see.
I hope everyone enjoys the new look. I thoroughly like it because it's new and I hate doing some things for X amount of time.
Yeah.
And these have been ready for weeks.
Yes, they have.
So
Finally getting to use them.
And if you don't like them, don't tell me.
Because, yeah, this is actually our first state of round 4.
Yep. And we decided to come back home.
Oh.
Yeah. So there you go. Now you can say it.
So stay scary.
Stay safe.